All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Touchdown Times with Alo and Savvy Sav.
Let's
How's it going today?
go. Let's go. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, man. What do we got on the podcast today? What are the fans tuning into, Eli?
So, for the agenda, what it's looking like, it's just another week of preseason. For here, we'll probably just be talking about a couple of the games that we watched this weekend. Maybe go over a little more fantasy as well. Talk about the next part of the draft order, 6 through 10, and maybe some sleepers. No, really too much for betting since we're not too far to the season yet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Um, and then we do have a trivia question this time for you guys, so be excited for that. But first of all, I had a quick question for you, Andrew. Are
What's
you
going on?
going to get the new Madden game?
Ooh, the new Madden game. I've heard good things and bad things about it. I personally love the build your own character and kind of lead the team, the face of the franchise aspects of it. It's really hard to get people to play Madden. Madden's one of those games where if they're not into it, they quit after two touchdowns. You know what I mean? So if it's on Game Pass, I might check it out, build a character and do a face of the franchise to really see the storyline. But aside from that, I don't really play people, head to head, unless it's online, and those people are just crazy good. So, I'll definitely check it out though. I'll definitely check it out. What about you?
Okay. I think I bought one 2 years ago, played it for a little bit, and it just has never been the same since when I played it when I was younger.
Hmm.
What I am excited for though, hopefully next year, the new college one will come out, the new NCAA
Yeah, they haven't
football
had one of
game.
those in a while, huh?
So I think they are bringing it back next year. And with that, what I used to love to do was play my 4 seasons in college as a creative character and then have him get drafted in the Madden game. That was
Yeah,
like the coolest thing to me. So I'm
yeah,
hoping I get to do that again. So definitely might check it out next year for sure.
yeah. And you know what's going to be interesting about that whole thing of NCAA and video games is the fact that these college players can actually, get paid based on their likeness now. It's
Yeah.
an interesting concept. A few years ago, that wasn't it was unheard of. I mean, Reggie Bush got stripped of the Heisman for it.
Yeah.
So now that they're doing that, it gives a little bit more exposure through video games and through a lot of other outlets.
And hey man, it's rightly deserved. I mean, those guys are so good, and they're most of them are going to the NFL anyway. So I think they might as well just start getting paid at that point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if they can, I mean, there was a YouTuber that gave up his NFL career journey to do YouTube because he was making money on it, and he's like, but
Yeah.
now that
And
they can do both,
it makes you look back at the guys who could have definitely benefited from this and made a lot of money, but
yeah,
they couldn't. And some of them are out of the league now, so it's like they couldn't get the bag when they were at their height.
yeah,
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to watch that develop in the next 3 to 5 years for sure.
yeah. Well, I'm excited for that. But yeah, just wanted to ask there.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so let's let's address the elephant in the room. So there was a football
Eh,
game and a very special bet that we had on a game. Uh, I did not end up making it up to LA due to the tropical storm Hillary that ended up hitting Southern California yesterday or Sunday. And yeah, so wasn't able to make it. But Andrew, did you end up going to the game?
I did. I ended up going with my roommate and his girl, and I met one of my fraternity brothers out there as well, and we all watched the game. And it was a good game. It was a good game. I actually went back to back Saturday and Sunday, watched the Raiders, kill the Rams at home, and then I also watched the Chargers and the Saints, and the Saints took it. So no LA team won this weekend, but I went to both their games. Great games, great games. I love the atmosphere. It was really awesome to go to back to SoFi and be in that atmosphere. I was wearing my Steeler gear, and there was just fans all over. It didn't matter what game it was. There, people were just excited for football and to be in that atmosphere and watch the kickoff and the cannon go off and just have the fans going. It's just the atmosphere is so unreal. I love it. So it was a cool time. It was a lot of fun. It was yeah, and the Saints ended up winning. So looks like you got me on some pizza over there. The next time we
I
hang out.
I will get you on the pizza now, so just put it on my tab. But congrats to that win. Smart bet there. I guess LA is just not going to be it this year. I called it now. I'm calling it now. Um, but yeah, so were there any other big highlights of those weekend games? Any amazing plays you saw, or anything that really got the crowd hyped?
Yeah, you know what was interesting is for the Rams and the Raiders game, when we went there, it seemed as though the Raiders had the home field advantage. There were so many Raiders fans there, and you just heard them chanting the whole way everywhere we were walking. And the Raiders are really playing like hard hitting defense. Like their defense, same from last week. I can't reiterate it enough that their defense was just on it. They took a pick six back to the house. Great, great defense. They were stopping them most of the time. I did see Stenson Bennett play from Georgia. He moved up and went to the Rams, and he had a little bit of backup action there.
Okay.
It was cool to see the transition from him in college to now being a pro and slinging the ball around, even if it's just preseason. But it was a good game. It was a good game. The Saints and the Chargers, I saw that game as well. I just think Jameson Winston is he's probably good enough to be a starter somewhere else, but he fits into that offense pretty well. He was fluid. He had some deep throws down the sideline that were really great. And their running back was picking up quite a bit of yards. But it just looked like he was just throwing to Michael Thomas out there, slants. Michael Thomas wasn't actually playing, but he was just throwing quick slants, flat checks, and you kind of moving the chains down the field. So they were good games. Didn't see too much of a spark from the Chargers or the Rams on any of the real plays, I would say. They did enough to like keep in the game. Special teams was interesting. I think I saw the Chargers muff a ball or two. But overall, great games. Just way teams took it. Saints and the Raiders took it. So yeah. Did you see any preseason games?
For me, I really just like to watch my Eagles, and I kind of just focus on them.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't get to watch the full game because I sadly had to leave to work, but I know the game ended up being tied, 18-18. Eagles did kind of make a comeback towards the end.
Yeah.
Um, from what I got out of it though, it didn't look that good, and I want to say the reason for that is right now with the play design for preseason, they're not asking him to run, which is kind of where his strengths are.
Hmm.
So if they're just relying him on being a pocket passer, it's not you're not going to see a lot of production from that. So that's pretty much what I saw. Um, and then I saw a couple decent runs. I saw Rashad Penny get some good
Hmm.
touches. And then I also saw Trey Sermon. He he played relatively well, and I was kind of excited for that. And then he had this terrible fumble. It just got popped right out, and yeah, it wasn't a good look for him. And I know he's already fighting for a position on that team, so there's a chance he might not even make it, either practice squad or maybe get released. So we'll have to see how that comes down to. But overall, that was kind of my experience with watching preseason over this weekend.
Yeah, I also caught the Steelers game, for them to go out there and, put up 27 points and make some plays. I mean, Joey Porter got an interception, gave the ball to his dad. That was a real cool moment for him. His father being a Steeler, and just a real full circle moment for him. Mitch Trubisky did really well, 10 for 13, 78 yards, touchdown. Jalen Warren, one carry, 62 yards to the house. That was real interesting. I think he runs like a young guy that has no sense of I can get hurt at any moment, and that's a little worrisome. But I think he's really trying to prove that he's going to be that guy if Najee goes down, or even if something happens to him, right? Um, I think if Najee ever did go down, that he can step into that role and fill that role. Same if not better.
Okay.
Najee has a little bit more muscle to him, and that stiff arm that he has is insane. But Jalen Warren's a little bit more elusive, in my opinion. You know, Pat Fryermuth did really well. He got a touchdown over the middle. That was a one drive, one play, 25 yards, touchdown over the middle. Split the safeties for a TD. That was awesome to see. Connor Hayward got a little involved there. That's Cam Hayward's little brother. That was cool to see. And then they're just a young team, a
Yeah.
very young team that second, third year players that are coming together. And I think they definitely have a shot to be a playoff team this year. If not, going past playoffs, but we'll see how that turns out. I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers, but they beat the Bills 27-15, and that was a great game to see the Steelers win.
All right, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, sorry, I was gonna say, um, do you have any plans to go to any games this season? Just kind of general, because you go to this preseason. Do you have any other future games you plan on going to?
I think it really just depends. Like I'm obviously I'm a football fan. I'll go to any games. I definitely want to catch a Steelers game for sure. I was looking at tickets before even the preseason really started, and they're a couple hundred. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so not that I'm not going to go because of it, because I'm definitely going to, but it's just sometimes trying to drag a friend along when it's not their team is a little bit more difficult. But we'll see. I'm definitely planning on going to more games, just kind of see what the prices look like. But Steelers definitely on the schedule for me, and then we'll see who's coming to town for the Rams and the Chargers, and see where they're at in the season and what the prices are. So,
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
what about you?
Yeah,
You seeing the Eagles when they come down to LA?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a trip down or up there to go watch the game. I think that should be a pretty fun weekend. It's kind of near my birthday too, so kind of works out. It's just a little trip.
Nice.
And then I'm also thinking of going to Philadelphia to watch a game there for the first time in Philly. In October, they're gonna play the Dolphins, so I'm gonna see if I can get there. It's a Sunday night game, so it's gonna be prime time. Tickets are like $250, so trying to see
That's
if I can.
the Steelers are like 300, 330, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, I didn't see any Steelers fans when I went to SoFi last weekend, so I was like, oh, I don't know, but those primetime games definitely a little bit more pricey, man. But it would be an experience, 100%, man. That's one that's I don't know, man. I think you just kind of got to do it and just pull the trigger on it and be like, you got to do it, one for the memory, one for the football, and
Yeah,
see see.
that's what I did last year too. I saw the Eagles play the Giants in New York, and that was just I kind of made that decision last minute, and it was
Yeah.
awesome. It was a great game. Eagles killed them. There was almost more Eagles fans than Giants fans there, so it was very raucous. A couple Eagles fans were very intoxicated. I think one fell pretty far down, like a few steps, and he got up and he was fine. But everyone was like, "Oh my god, these Eagles fans, they're crazy right now." So definitely a good time. So I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
But yeah. So anyways, for preseason, I would advise everyone, if you're really interested in preseason, week 3 is probably the best time to check out the teams. Mostly the first half, maybe first quarter, because you're gonna
Hmm.
get it's basically dress rehearsal. So you're gonna see a lot of these teams play their starters. They're gonna run through a few plays. They kind of just want to get them ready for the first week of the season. So yeah, if you're gonna tune in, I would say next week is the week to tune in.
Yeah, I would definitely reiterate that. We're talking, first 2, 3, maybe 4 drives. These starters are going to be in. You really get a good glance of their production and what they look like, coming into a game. But other than that, they're putting in backups, shortly after. It's still, still football, still great to watch, and you actually get to see the depth of some of these teams that they have, and who might sneak into some starting spots there, if someone gets hurt or whatnot. But yeah, I would definitely recommend catching the first couple minutes of the games if you can.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'm excited, and hey, that just once after week 3 is over, we'll be that much closer to the season. So look forward to that. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. Just keep chugging along this month.
Yeah.
Okay, so move over. We could talk a little fantasy. So I believe last week we went through picks 1 through 5 and kind of gave our thoughts and opinions on that. So today we'll kind of move down 6 through 10,
Hmm.
give an idea for those. Maybe help you out if you're kind of in a pickle and have your draft order and trying to decide, where you want to look at. So Andrew, I'll start it off. What would you say for number 6 that you would pick up for
Ooh, for
fantasy?
six is hard, considering that we put Kelsey at 5. At this point, there's a lot of great players. It really depends on if you're looking for shopping wide receivers at this point, or are you trying to have those running backs, the next tier of those top running backs, right? After McCaffrey and after Austin Eckler. Um if you're going wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs. If you're looking at running backs, you're looking at Saquon, you're looking at Bijan Robinson, a good rookie there, Nick Chubb, and then a little bit later you might have King Henry, still going to get a lot of touches. I think I would honestly I think I would put Tyreek at 6, and that's just because him and he's finished a top 7 wide receiver every year. He's got great production. He's the fastest man in the NFL. I gotta put him at 6, and he just has so much production, right? You got Tua throwing him the ball. He's healthy this year. They got a great offense. They got a great young offense. I think they can make it real far. The only thing about that is, you're kind of worrisome, splitting touches with Jaden Waddle, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing for me. I don't know. Do you have someone else in mind for 6? Are you thinking running backs? Are you sticking wide receivers? What are your thoughts?
I would say I would like Hill. I think if he's healthy enough though, Cooper Cup would probably be in the conversation for me, but he's kind of more risky at this point. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really know the status on him. But Tyreek Hill I think is a pretty solid option. He I would say the concern there is there for him and Waddle, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you having Waddle there will take a lot of heat off of him. The defenses are gonna have to split their top guys,
Yeah.
depending on what it is. And Waddle's just as good of a threat. So that'll
Mm-hmm.
give Hill a lot more chances to be able to, maybe be on one of the younger cornerbacks and be able to take off and beat him and
Yeah.
run straight down. So there's always the option there. So I think Hill's still pretty solid at 6.
It's interesting to see Cooper Cup drop lower than 6 in some of these rankings, just because a couple years ago he was the number one. He's the number one guy. You know what I mean? I just think his injury and his lack of playing the game, this recent year, has a lot of people a little bit worried that he may not be the same as he was, his breakout year. But I think he's still a great wide receiver. But I can see him dropping low, 7, 8, maybe even 9. Just depends on what you're shopping for at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like there's more safe picks there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think Cup is just a risk overall.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like Saquon Barkley in the past. If he's sitting
Mm-hmm.
there, do you take him or do you kind of just let him drop a little more?
Yeah.
You never know when he's going to get hurt, and yeah, so it can vary. Okay,
Gotcha.
so that was over 6. We'll work with 7.
7. 7. Seven's interesting to me. I think at this point, if I chose Tyreek Hill at 6, I would probably look at running backs, because now you're getting the cream of the crop out of the running backs in that tier, right? And you're talking Saquon, you're talking Bijan, you're talking Nick Chubb, you're talking King Henry. Um, PPR tells me Saquon. You know what I mean? He's getting a lot of dump passes from Danny Dimes. And if you're looking at straight production, I would take Chubb. You know what I mean? That's a little. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna play now that they have Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore for the Browns, and they have Deshaun Watson. He's a mobile quarterback. He could run it. So it's going to be interesting to see that team. But I think they're trying to go to a more pass heavy type of offense. You know what I mean, for the
Mhm.
Browns. Um, I think I would pick. I mean, Bijan Robinson. He's going to be that offense for the Falcons, right? They have
Yeah.
no other weapons. They have Kyle Pitts, and we all know how he is in the last couple of years in fantasy. So he's definitely going to get the touches. He's definitely going to get the volume for sure. But I think I would go Saquon in this 7. You can take a risk, and Bijan has a lot of upside and has a higher ceiling in my opinion. But Saquon's the safer pick. He's proven himself as a top 5 running back in the league consistently. Besides injuries, that offense, they only have Darren Waller and Saquon, so it's kind of like those are the options as far as the offense goes. So I would pick Saquon. Let me know your thoughts. So I know Stephon Diggs is still available for wide receiver, and he's consistently put up points for fantasy as well. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say Saquon's pretty solid there. I personally still have my worries about him.
Mm,
I know he was relatively healthy last year, but
yeah.
I think overall, just with the Giants offense to have something. But I think for me, I would take Chubb Probably Nick Chubb, just because even if they do go more pass heavy, I still think Chubb will have a lot of production. He'll be able to be maybe the dump off. If Deshaun Watson's ever in trouble, because I know he can scramble, but I think as age progresses, he may be more willing to either give to Nick Chubb.
Well,
So
what's interesting about that is Nick Chubb is definitely going to have more of a volume. It's not going to be that 1-2 punch anymore like it was with Kareem Hunt being there. He's not there
yeah,
anymore, so
yeah,
he's definitely going to have more of the volume. And he's definitely the safer pick in my opinion. But I think Saquon and Bijan just has more upside to him. You know what I mean? I think they're a little bit younger. Nick Chubb is just built though. He can run the ball like he can lower shoulder and take someone out versus a Saquon or a Bijan. They're a little bit more scat back type of backs. Um, so that's interesting. That's interesting. I definitely can see the volume. I personally, if I was ranking those running backs, it would be Saquon, Bijan, and then Nick Chubb, followed
okay.
yeah, followed, and then even at that, Nick Chubb and King Henry. King Henry's going to get a lot of touches, especially goal line touches, for that red zone target. Getting in the couple yards. I would even argue that he might be above Nick Chubb in that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But it gets harder the way the more we get down in the ladder. So, but definitely something to think about for the listeners out there. Let's talk 8. At this point, we've taken either you know, Nick Chubb or Saquon Barkley off the table. Let's talk 8. Are we thinking Stephon Diggs? He's the best wide receiver left in that tier, or are we still thinking running backs back to back?
I think you have more options with wide receivers in this draft, so you want to take the best running backs you can in
In the
that
late in
moment.
that late first round, huh?
And I would probably then go Bijan if that's the
Yeah,
option. Then, so I
yeah.
mean, you're
It's
right.
it's
He is like the main guy there, and that team's. I don't know how that team's gonna do this year, but Bijan, he's young, he's got fresh legs. He was really good in college, and give it to the rookie. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, I just wonder how good that is because I mean we've seen rookies come in, step into a role, and it's hard to adjust to the NFL. You know what I mean? There's a lot of pressure, especially at that quarterback slash running back position because you're that guy that they're relying on, and I don't know, man. I just feel like if he gets the rock and he doesn't do well because either the line or whatever may happen, it's hard to take that hit on their confidence level and then want to come back and play. We saw it in Mariota, we saw it in I think we might see it in Bryce Young. He's taking hits left and right in this preseason and
Yeah,
he's not doing too well, but we'll see how they adjust to it. I think Bijan has a ton of upside, and he's going to get the volumes for sure. And I like how you're thinking. If you're sitting at draft pick, 8, 9, 10, I would take running backs back to back, just because later on it's going to be real hard trying to get some solid backs in the draft at
yeah,
that point. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good receivers and some sleepers in that receiver category that you can pick up that may make or break your fantasy team. So cool. Okay, so we got Bijan at 8, and then 9. Who are we looking at? I mean, for me, it would probably be Chubb. I don't know if you're thinking Saquon at that point for you.
I'd probably take Saquon there then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And then 10. We're left with Stephon Diggs, Cooper Cup, King Henry.
Ooh, I'd probably take. mm, I'd probably take Diggs at that point. He's still a
Yeah.
pretty top tier. Cup's there, but like I said, I don't really know where he's going to be at this season. He could totally prove me wrong and shoot up the list, but I mean, just we can base it off last year's production. I'd probably give it to Diggs.
Yeah, no, I would definitely give it to Diggs as well. He played through the whole season. He was healthy. He's got a great quarterback. You know what I mean? Josh Allen's made it to playoffs multiple times. And it just seems like that was just a fluke year for Cup and Matt Stafford. It was great for them, and it was awesome to see them go and make that happen. But I just don't think it's going to be repeatable or sustainable. Now two years later. Um, so yeah, I would take Stephon Diggs at 10, and then we'll break down the rest a little bit later. But it's interesting to see that Cooper Cup's fallen that low, just in both of our opinions, because I've been doing mock drafts, and it's either like people love him top 4 or 5, or he drops to 11, 12, maybe 9. So he drops later in the round. So it's like he's either top tier or he's like bottom. There's not really a 5, 6, 7, 8 option for him. But cool. Yeah. So we kind of broke down 6 to 10. That gives you guys a little bit to kind of chew on and think about, and see where your draft strategy is really going to fall in order. Speaking of draft strategy, I mean, we'll talk a little bit on that. What is your draft strategy, Eli? Like, are you looking to draft early? Maybe 2 through 4. Are you trying to be later on where you hit that snake and you can really get back-to-back picks at, first the end of the first round, beginning of the second round? What are your thoughts on where you would like to draft? Because I know there's some leagues out there that allow trading of draft orders and things like that. But where would you hope that you landed in this draft order?
I personally kind of like middle of the road, mostly because it's not as much pressure for that first pick, because you gotta hit that first pick because you're not picking for a while if it's snake draft. So that one needs to be out of the park. If you're in the middle of the road, you pretty much got solid options still. Most of the running backs that are top tier should be there for you, and then it's not going to take too long for the pick to get back to you. I also do like being one of the last picks just because you get those back to back, but you risk kind of losing out on the top tier running backs. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to be a little more um, looking for not sleepers, but just looking for guys who are going to be able to maybe hit the top tier RB 1, 2, not 1 or 2, but maybe like 3 or 4 that'll surprise you. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in the past, one time I actually had the 12th pick and ended up going 2 receivers. So I was struggling most of the season with my running backs, but my top 2 receivers, they were killing it for me. So
Yeah.
it's just you kind of have to take what the board gives you.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
that would probably be where I'm at.
I think that's for a lot of people, right? Just because you can have someone that maybe is new to fantasy, or someone that doesn't really know, um, you know, and someone always messes up every year. They'll draft a quarterback, round 2, or they'll draft a tight end super early, and it kind of throws things off. But I personally like being, around 8, 9, and I think that reason is you can still kind of guess what the next 2 people are going to do, you know? It would be like, okay, he's probably going to take this. He's probably going to take this. I'm going to take this. And then when it comes back to me, I'll be here, and you can kind of plan it out 2 picks ahead. I like that in, drafting 3 as well. Um, I like that in drafting 3 as well, but, it's very different, right? So, you definitely got to nail that first draft, but, yeah, I guess that gives you guys some insight into there. Um, we'll move on to some sleepers, some fantasy sleepers. These are late rounders. These are people that are going to surprise you. These are some rookies that you may be taking a chance on. I'll go first, and I'll go with my boy George Pickens. He had a great season last season, and they're a young team. He really came in, made an impact. Young cat from Georgia, making plays. I think he's a great sleeper. He's going, pretty far down there. And I want to say he's going like 79, 83 overall in these drafts, but I would reach for him in, early 60s, mid 60s in the draft order and snag him up. I know Calvin Ridley was on your radar. What are your thoughts
Hmm.
about him?
Yeah, I mean Calvin Ridley, he was away for the season from the league for a year, just needed some time off, but getting to join with the Jags and going with Trevor Lawrence. I personally love the Jags. I think T Law is the man over there. Got Doug Peterson as well. Is a great coach working with quarterbacks. Since he kind of helped out the Eagles back when we had Carson Wentz. So I would say overall, I think Ridley, he's going to be the number one guy. I think they're already been practicing together and they've looked like they've had a good connection. So I think having a year off, that also lets his body recover a little better. He may have a more jolt in his step, and I just think he may be more in and ready for the game. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
definitely think his mindset is at a different point now, right? He wasn't making the best decision last year, betting on some games and things like that. But now that he's seen, he's had some time off, I think it makes him appreciate the game more, and he wants to take advantage of this season. And his time with Trevor Lawrence as an up and coming, quarterback and really make a statement out there
Mhm.
and get his career back on track. So I think he's got something to prove. He's gonna be playing with a chip on his shoulder for sure. Let's talk about some rookies. I know there's some good rookies in the draft class. I'm talking Jordan and Addison from the Vikings and Quentin Johnson from the Chargers. These were guys that were taken very, very high in the draft for rookies at wide receiver positions. I've seen Addison play, and he's made some great sideline catches. He seems to have some crisp routes. It seems like another solid receiver that the Vikings have, and it seems like their pass game is going to really take off. They have obviously they have Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson, and now they add Jordan Addison to the mix. I think he'll be open a lot because there's going to be a lot of spotlight on Justin Jefferson. Um, Quentin Johnson's another good rookie wide receiver. I saw him play this past week. He was getting a lot of passes, a lot of looks, and he had quite a few completions. And I think they're just going to continue using him, and he might be a surprise to step up in that wide receiver. Obviously, they got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but Keenan Allen's getting a little bit old, man, especially with that hamstring injury that he's suffering last year. I think, if something happens to him, Quentin Johnson can slide into that role and really fill that role well.
Those are good points. I agree with Quentin Johnston for sure. I think even last year they had injury issues with Keenan Allen. I remember he on your team? Do you have
He
him?
was on my team,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. And having to deal with that all season, and you pick him relatively high in the draft, and then Mike Williams ends up going off, but then he also has a history of injuries. So yeah, I think Quentin Johnston could be a solid sleeper for there.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about these wide receivers. I don't really have too many on the running backs, but one that really came across my mind was Rashard White, and that's mostly because he's going to be owning that backfield, right? The Bucks, I mean, they do have a good pass, with Mike Evans and who's the other wide receiver too? Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin.
Yeah, for Godwin, yeah.
Yep. So they have those wide receivers which are there, but they got Baker at quarterback. So I don't know how that's really gonna pan out. They might lean on the run. He's definitely gonna have the volume being the only back there now that Leonard Fournette is not there anymore. They cut him. So I think he's gonna get quite a bit of volume and he's gonna surprise a lot of fantasy managers out there. I think he could be a good sleeper to invest in.
Okay, nice. All right, so just going over our sleepers, seeing where we're at. I am liking those, so hopefully you guys don't steal them from us when we do our draft. So see how that goes.
uh,
Go
I
giving out
know.
all your tips, man. You're letting
I
everyone know
know.
everyone's gonna be taking pickings as soon as they can.
I know. I probably won't get him. Anyway, yeah, it'll be a fun draft though. And honestly, if they take my advice, then that means we're doing something right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. So I think do you want to tell the folks a little bit more about the odds and ends, the betting segment, or we kind of want to save that for when the season starts and have some actual numbers and spreads to give them there?
Yeah, for now, I mean, I really just had my two futures from last week with the Eagles and the Jets. Um, Overall, though, I mean, hey, I'll even throw MVP. I'm just being a homer again. Jalen Hurts, he could have the potential for a big year again. But it's always going to be competitive there. So that's just I may do it for fun, but that's just me being a homer now. But other than that, yeah, we can wait until the season starts up and get more into lines. And so a lot of teams kind of need their times to wake up and kind of get into their groove for the season. So that week one, it's anyone's game. So we'll see how it goes. But I'll be there for you guys. I'll see what I can figure out.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's move into trivia question of the week. We got touchdown trivia. I'm just gonna read the question off here. You guys can text us, you guys can answer on Spotify, but let's get some engagement going. What city did the Commanders originate from before moving to Washington, D.C.? Here are your answers. A, New Hampshire. B, Boston. C, Washington State. Or D, New Jersey. So you guys can shoot us a text with the letter or answer on Spotify, but we're going to be announcing the winner next week. So tune in for that. But we're gonna have some touchdown trivia every week, and we're gonna have some trivia for the interview that we're having on air. Starting week one, and it'll be some good trivia. But feel free to shoot us a text or answer the question via Spotify, and we'll announce the winner next week. Otherwise, I think that's anything else you want to add to touchdown trivia?
No, I think that kind of answers it all. Bonus points if you can give the name of the team as well, because that team has gone through a couple name changes too.
That is true. That is true. Um, Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think that's pretty much it for what we have for episode 2. We went over, some games that we were at, and talked through some of the matchups there. We went through some sleepers, as well as 6 through 10, give you some insight into the draft order and draft strategy. And we got a trivia question out there for you guys. And we'll tune in next week to find out who wins that. But other than that, I think that's all we got for Touchdown Times episode 2 with Savvy Sav and Alo 27. We are out of here.
All right, later, guys.